Scott Morrison, then, do any of you accept that he just might have said what he was reported to have said?
I mean,
Shadow Cabinet?
I've checked inside Shadow Cabinet. I mean, Scott Morrison is not a racist. I mean, you know, some points ought to be made here. I mean, he described the Cronulla riots in his electorate, the race riots, as shameful. I mean, in 2009, in a bid to unify the community, he took a whole bunch of Muslim kids from his electorate and marched the Kokoda Trail.
Yeah, OK, look, and I've heard that, and that's been reported a lot. That's a sentiment that's being picked up by a lot of journalists who...
No, he raised the issue, but my information is that he raised it... He said, look, there is anti-Muslim feeling in the community. It's got to be faced. What he didn't say was that we've got to exploit it.
I don't think he said we've got to capitalise on it.
Yes.
But the question is bring things to concentrate on. He brought that to the table. It obviously unleashed the debate that's been reported, which is it's not a good idea for us to go there. We shouldn't get into that. And
so they shouldn't have talked about it?
Well, there's a lot of context you can put on it. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know.
Look, if he look, the only thing that people agree on is he brought it to the table. Now, if he proposed that the coalition exploit a minority, attack a minority for electoral gain, he has no place in Australian public life.
Correct.
And certainly no place in any alternative government or government. However, there is nothing firm that's come out since to say that that's what he did.
OK.
So if I just continue, let's release the minutes of that meeting. Just the amended, the edited minutes to show that section to see what, in fact, he proposed.
Well, Tony Abbott says there's nobody more sensitive in the country. Well,
that's ridiculous.
Just listen to this exchange on 2GB. Now, a lot of garbage gets circulated through the various media outlets when this sort of thing comes up. But have a listen to this.
So the AFP will pick up the tab for the funeral? Hello? And the Department of Immigration funding the flights?
And then taking sightseeing trips and these sorts of things. I just don't understand how these, how that decision might have been made in these circumstances.
The department will not confirm the itinerary. They will not confirm a sightseeing tour, saying it is an operational matter.
Well, that's just not good enough.
Well, if they're not confirming a sightseeing tour, it doesn't actually rule it out, does it?
Well, we'll pursue this in estimates next week, I'm sure.
Now, I mean, really, they're suggesting that these people are somehow so different to the rest of us that they would contemplate a sightseeing tour immediately after a funeral, that they're incapable of real grief.
I think he's going a bit further when he also pointed out with great vigour, you couldn't get the government to pay for your funeral costs. I mean, he volunteered this rather than reactively.
That was a mistake.
To me, that was the most damaging thing of what he did.
Apart from the absurdity of trying to say, gee, these people on Christmas Island got it lucky, haven't they? They're a fortunate bunch of coves. It is just exploiting the division, acting... Look, he mightn't be a racist, and I have no evidence that Scott Morrison's a racist, and his closest colleagues say he isn't. But, gee... Wingo's, he's a hard liner on immigration. He doesn't step back from exploiting the weaknesses.
Well,
this
goes back to your opening remarks, though, about the piece in the paper about the dumbing down of politics. I mean, there's no question that the coalition wants a debate on this because everywhere Scott Morrison goes, he gets told it's an issue by voters.
And it has been ever thus for 15 years. As soon as it's raised, Labor goes down in the polls. They'll ask any Labor politician of the last...
But it's always there, but as soon as a politician comes out with it, publicly he does, it's giving permission for people to vent themselves
raising
and
the
make
question
it more public an issue.
Raising the question about whether this was a valid use of money, which is the best places for the funerals to be, is one thing, and should we bear the cost, that's one thing. To go on and then invite people to compare it to their own lives and what they don't get, that is in line with what Pauline Hanson did when she stood up in that maiden speech. It's exactly the same kind of, fueling the same kind of response from the community. You could so easily invite a different response.
And what about Corey Bernardi, the South Australian Liberal Senator, who said this during the week about the Muslim culture? I, for one, don't want to eat meat that is butchered in the name of an ideology that is mired in 6th century brutality. It is an anathema to my own values.
Well, he ought to go to my butcher, Barry. I don't know where to get meat like that.
Yeah. Look, he clarified himself yesterday or today, saying he was talking about fundamental fundamentalism, Islamic fundamentalism, and not just normal mainstream Muslims. But I don't know what he's got against halal.
Special
is not
butchering arrangements in the Jewish community as well.
Exactly.
That's right.
Of course, the context
they go back a fair way
the context
too.
of this, though, Barry, is we've had a series of European leaders come out this week. Sarkozy, the Deputy Prime Minister of the Netherlands, and Angela Merkel, and they're all saying that multiculturalism has been a failed experiment. And I think this is also fueling a bit of the debate in Australia as well.
But I think it's a false debate because the multiculturalism in those countries is not multiculturalism as we know it. They have very separate populations that come out as guest workers, that are housed together. It's a completely different notion, I think.